Carla, it's good to see you. Thank you for doing this today. Appreciate your time. I'm absolutely loving the new record, by the way. It is absolutely stunning.
Oh,
My
thank you.
my favourite music of yours so far, but I love everything you do. But I think this is just a completely different level. So it feels like such a milestone moment in your career, both in terms of the subject matter and also the quality of the songs as well. So, what did you want this project to represent about where you are in your life at the moment?
I think that when I lost Busby, it really tested me as far as where do I go after this? And I think what this music represents is me finding even more about myself musically and personally than I ever thought was possible. Um, I have always been the girl that says I'm a country music purist, but I don't know that every single song I've ever recorded with Busby represented that. And I feel like this music and this chapter and this kind of like new era of music from top to bottom, there's no question of that. And I think that, and it's the first time that I've written all of the music, all of the songs. And so I just think like on so many levels, this is so representative of just like a new chapter and the best chapter.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that because it's only been a year since the last album, and we get so used to seeing the kind of 2 year cycle between projects. Was it just a case of you wanting to completely leave the past in the past, as you've been so open about on this EP?
I think initially it was I wanted to move on because I didn't have Busby anymore, and move on because I wasn't in love anymore. And I think then it's like a two-part answer because then I found something I didn't even know I was looking for in these new collaborators, and it just opened this door of something musically that was just so unexpected in the best way.
And one of my favourites you released not too long ago, Should Have Known Better, which I know you wrote with Emily Shackleton and Jordan Reynolds. And I wanted to ask you about writing with Emily because it seems like every time you guys get in a room together, you create some sort of magic. So, what is it about working with Emily that kind of brings you to your best?
I've been writing with Emily since I was 20 years old. So I think it's probably some of that. We're actually friends in real life. I can go to her and be unapologetically myself. And I think she's been a part of so many of my records at this point and so many songs that she knows how to speak my language almost as good as me. So it's almost like we can't write songs fast enough. And she's on a lot of songs to come after even this project. And she was with me every step of the way through all of this. And she lost Busby too. So she understood the weight of that.
And two of the people who you worked with as well, Shane McNally and Josh Osborne, massive parts of this record, both on the writing side and the production side. In terms of the production, I know you've written a lot with the guys, but what do they bring on the production side of things in the studio creatively?
I think they had such a different approach to Busby in the best way. It was cool. It was cool to see somebody else going into the studio and how they were doing things. And what I think is so awesome is we used no tracks at all on this project. It was all the organic instruments in the studio. And, you know, Busby was just different. He wasn't that way. And what was so cool is they didn't let me over sing things. I don't really know how to explain that, but I was so used to singing songs over and over and over. And I mean, obviously, like Busby was just an extraordinary producer, but I feel like they trusted my instincts maybe more than Busby did. Busby found me when I was like a 23-year-old kid. So I think he had like a lot of not power over me at all. I just mean like I think he almost looked at me as like his kid, so he knew best. And I feel like Shane and Josh were just like, well, how do you want to sing it? And I was just like, huh? So I feel like that was kind of cool. They almost trusted me more than I trusted myself.
It seems there was a lot of trust there with the songwriting as well, because I was going to come on to 29, the title track, and that is the most brutally honest, open song I think I've ever heard. It's just so kind of in your face, right out there, coming out with everything you wanted to come out with. And tell us about the writing process for that. That must have been a pretty tough day in the studio to kind of drag that out of yourself, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was interesting. I got the idea for 29 at the beginning of quarantine, kind of before I knew what was about to happen in my life. The world didn't know yet. And I was talking to a girlfriend on the phone, and I said, I think I have to write a song called 29, and I'm going to name my project after it, the year I got married and divorced. And she was like, wow, have fun with that. And I just felt like I needed to write a song that had nothing to do with anybody but me. And it's kind of like my heartbreak letter to myself of the reality of being in the public eye and going through something that you never in a million years thought you were going to go through. It's interesting because I've played this song for some of my friends, and they all are like, Carly, I know this is your story, but we can relate to this. Like, life doesn't always turn out like you thought it would. And there are so many places in life that you never expect that you're going to get there, good and bad. And so I hope that people can all insert their own stories into this song.
Yeah, so I have to admire your bravery. It's such a brave step to even put that song out, and it's one of quite a few brave moments on the record as well. I mean, Liability, which is completely the flip side. I absolutely love that song, and the quirkiness of that main line in the chorus. I mean, we've seen on Songland, Shane McLachlan does it all the time, and it's so easy to just get those kind of lines out of him. Where did that line come from? Was that a Shane line, or was it one of you guys, you or Josh?
I have to say, I brought the idea of Liability to them. And I remember driving to the right and being like, all right, this is either like the dumbest thing that ever lived or the most brilliant thing ever. And it was like I had just liability. Your liability is a liability. And I said it to them, and Shane jumped up on the couch. Like, he couldn't believe it. And it was the coolest moment for me of just like, oh, they think it's, and he was like, are you kidding me? Like, I cannot even believe that I never thought of this. And it was kind of one of those moments of like girl crush, like, God, why didn't I think of girl crush? And I felt so cool that I brought that in. And we wrote it, and it like all those nuances of like liability. I mean, that's them. Like, they're just able to kind of, we wrote that song in like 20 minutes.
That's crazy. All right, just because we've got to wrap up in a minute, Carly, I asked the fans to send in some questions on Twitter and Facebook last night, so I want to throw a couple of fan questions your way, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So Cassandra on Twitter says, what's your favourite lyric from the title track 29?
I think the coolest lyric to me that I'm the most proud of is from a miss to a misses than the other way around.
It's such a great line. So Anne Fritz on Twitter says, I really love Didn't Do and Heart First, and another one that you sang at the listening room. Is there any chance of another EP later this year?
Yes, I promise. All of those songs, I promise. I wrote so many songs and I continue to write so many songs that people haven't heard. I promise you I'm going to put out more music. I just wanted to kind of do like a first chapter.
Okay, yeah. And just finally, Julie on Facebook says, once COVID is over, obviously, are you planning to do your own UK tour in the future? Because obviously you've done C2C, but do you want to come and do your own stuff at some point?
Yes, we were actually right before COVID working on me doing some sort of trip. So I promise I will get over there.
Fingers crossed. Well, Carla, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate your time, and best of luck with the new record.
Thank you. Thank you.